As chairman of the National Baseball Hall of Fame, it is my honor, Todd, to welcome you into the Hall of Fame family.
To all the incredible Rockies fans, thank you for my 17 years. I know you spent your hard-earned money to come to the ballpark to cheer me on. I did my best to give it all every day. Competing on the baseball field was where I felt like I belonged. It was my church, a place where I felt most comfortable. I liked putting in the long hours and doing the extra work. The early Saturday mornings with Milo throwing to me in the cage, that's the kind of stuff I miss about baseball. Working hard to compete and the relentless drive to win. The rewards that have come to me from baseball are beyond the wildest dreams of a young rookie coming out of the University of Tennessee. I know I'm a lucky man. All I can say is thank you to everyone whose support helped me get here, and thank you for this tremendous honor.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the studio, live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. So pumped to be with you guys on this Monday morning here in the studio, and we've got a jam-packed Rockies show. A lot to talk about here. The Rockies bouncing back quick out of the All-Star break, and they've been off to a pretty good start. We've got a lot to talk about. Todd Helton getting inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Going to spend a lot of time talking about him today, and also the Rockies picking up a couple good wins against their division rivals, the Giants, as well. There's some funky food over at Coors Field. We got a whole range of topics to go over, so let's get this thing started. Wanted to introduce myself, though, first. My name is Christian Saez. I've been on the show a couple times before, but I'm going to be taking over this show full-time now moving forward, so I am pumped to be with you guys. I've been covering and following the Rockies for a long time in the past. Went to college here in Colorado, grew up watching teams in the NL West as a growing up on the West Coast, and so I'm excited to be able to be here covering the Rockies now full-time for DNVR. And to be honest, I was pretty lucky with the start that I had. I got to go to a couple of the games over the weekend, watching the Rockies beat the Giants, and that was pretty sweet as a nice way to start off my time here at DNVR. But let's jump right into it, and I wanted to start by talking about really the most important thing that happened this entire weekend, and that is Todd Helton getting inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Only the second Rocky to ever be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He joins Larry Walker in Cooperstown for the Rockies, and what a cool moment for him. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to watch much of the speech that he gave, and also if you know Todd Helton, he's not really the guy that likes to get up on the podium and talk a lot about himself. So the fact that he had the speech that he had, we're going to show some clips as we move forward, but he totally crushed it. So shout out to Todd Helton showing up when it counts. Also batting leadoff in the speeches. I mean, he spent over 2,000 games playing in Major League Baseball, never batted leadoff once, and then goes and bats leadoff in the induction speeches and crushed it. So that was pretty cool to see. We're going to talk a lot about like some of his stats and a lot of the cool things that he brought to the Rockies franchise. But one of the most important things, and something that stood out to me that I wanted to talk about, and I think it's something that goes kind of unnoticed in sports as a whole, but especially in baseball, is the fact that Todd Helton spent his entire career just in Colorado. 17 seasons from 1997 until 2013 when he retired. He spent his entire time in Colorado playing for the Colorado Rockies. Was drafted in the first round in 1997, the year I was born. And then, like I said, retired in 2013 with the Rockies as well. So, I think it's interesting, though, when you look at players that have spent their entire year, their entire career, in one place. I think there's a lot of things that actually have to go on behind the scenes that build a player like that sticks around, because you have so many examples of players. I think of like guys like Ken Griffey Jr., who retired a Seattle Mariner. Like, let's be real. Like Ken Griffey Jr., when you think of the kid, like the guy is a Seattle Mariner, but he still went on to play for the Reds. As he was getting close to retirement, he had a little stint with the Chicago White Sox. Barry Bonds, same thing. You would think that he is a San Francisco Giant through and through, but he played for the Pittsburgh Pirates as he started out. And so I know we're getting kind of, very granular in this aspect, but I think there is some value, especially in the world of sports as it is today, in the fact that you have a player like Todd Helton who spent his entire career in just one place. And I wanted to make the example of it's like a committed relationship, right? Like, you see someone that in a lot of Rockies fans' cases, in a lot of our cases, like you grew up watching him and he retired as a part of your organization. And there's only really a small handful of people that can actually say that they're in the Hall of Fame having played with just one team. Some of the big names that come to mind: Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio, Chipper Jones, Bob Gibson, Stan Musial, Sandy Koufax, Roy Campanella, Jackie Robinson, Edgar Martinez. The list can go on for a little bit, but I mean, these are players that, if you look at it on paper, most of these players played in some of the more historic times in baseball. You're looking at like the old early 1900s Cubs, Yankees, the Red Sox, the New York Giants before they moved to San Francisco. And so as baseball has progressed, and as sports has progressed, the trade deadlines, people getting moved around. I mean, hell, you're even seeing it in college sports now too, with the transfer portal. Guys are seeing, opportunities to find success in other markets, and the longevity of their careers can only get them so far in one place. And so I wanted to ask the question for those of you in the Toyota chat, if you think you have any idea, what kind of causes this, but like, what type of traits build a player that spends their entire career in one place? I just listed off some of those guys in the baseball world. You look at it in the NBA as well. Think of guys like Kobe, who are playing with one team, the Lakers, his entire career. Like, what are some of the traits that you see as a fan and as a player that allow these players to get to that next player, or to that next level in that one team? And for me at least, I think, kind of rattling off some of the things that I think helps a player to last and spend a very long time in their entire career at one place. Humility, commitment, but the most important thing that comes up to me is fan base. I think, no player wants to play in an environment where they're not fully embraced by the organization. They're not fully accepted. You look at like Nikola Jokic, and obviously, with the Nuggets, like he's still, relatively young in his career. But Nuggets fans, we've all embraced Nikola Jokic, right? Like, we want to see him grow, and in the best case scenario, we want to see him retire as a Nugget. And I think it's so hard to find that in today's time, but I think one of the biggest factors involved in allowing someone to retire in just one place is the fan base. So shout out to Rockies fans as a whole for really just embracing Todd Helton. I mean, and to be completely honest, it wasn't that hard. I mean, he was pretty damn good. His stats speak for himself. I mean, he was the only player in MLB history to have 100+ extra base hits in back-to-back seasons. He was the only player in MLB history to produce 592 doubles in a 17-year span. There were other players that did it, but they had to use 18 years to do it. It's just pretty crazy to think of the way that happened. But I wanted to add one more little nugget in there as well when we talk about, players that spend their entire career in just one place. Superstition. Maybe there's guys out there, and Todd Helton is a pretty superstitious guy, but maybe there's guys out there that kind of think through things a little different and say, you know what? Maybe it's bad luck to go from one place to the next. And so I'm going to keep myself as grounded as possible in this one spot. And Todd Helton, in his speech, he did speak about his experience in superstition in baseball, in a very superstitious sport. And so I wanted to play clip 2 here, Alyssa, if you're ready for that one, where you see Todd Helton. He explains his history in the superstitious world of baseball.
Some people have told me that my superstitions early in my career were a bit excessive. Same food, same route to field, same routine. It made sense to no one but me. I remember getting a speeding ticket on the way to the field one day in Colorado Springs. I got 3 hits that day. So, I took the same route, went the same speed, and the next day, the same officer gave me another ticket. I didn't care. I got 3 hits that day as well. I asked the officer to meet me the 3rd day, and he indulged me. Vin Scully pointed out another superstitious moment during a game at Dodger Stadium, and I swear this was the only time it happened. I started that game with a full beard, but after every at-bat that I didn't get a hit, I went back to the locker room and shaved just a little bit. Well, after 4 at-bats, I was down to a mustache, but I got a hit in my last at-bat, so to me, it was all worth it.
Can you imagine being the police officer that like pulled Todd Helton over? I mean, you know, the fact that you do it the first time and, you know, he's like, okay, that's kind of cool. It's Todd Helton, you know, I'm going to let you go here. And then the next day it's the exact same thing. I mean, like what's going through this dude's mind as he's pulling Todd Helton over? And the fact that that became a bit like that police officer might've been sitting at home watching that induction ceremony saying, hey, he's talking about me. Yeah, that was me, right?
I can't believe he gave him tickets even.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And then the camera, you know, just kind of casually pans over to the police officer standing in the corner, you know, at the ceremony. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And also the beard thing. As someone who has you know, not been able to grow a beard ever in my life, much to Marissa's dismay. Yeah, I'm impressed that he was able to just commit to just like saying, you know what, I'm sucking today. I'm just going to get rid of that because that is, you know, that's a very meaningful thing, you know, when you get rid of your facial hair. So obviously it worked for him, but baseball is a sport filled with superstitions. I know from my time playing, and this one's kind of a basic one, but like I was a pitcher, so anytime, you know, kind of the cardinal rule as a pitcher when you're going out to the field is you never step on the line. You never step on the chalk. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if it's just the grounds crew that said one day to a pitcher, you know, back in the day, like, hey, buddy, you better, my lines are perfect, so you better keep that as perfect as you can. But I never stepped on those lines. You know, I also, there was some superstition about like how early I would chew bubble gum before a game, you know, because I didn't want that taste in my mouth as I was pitching. There's some like really weird stuff that, you know, you go through the rabbit hole as a baseball player. Todd Helton was that guy, though. He was the guy that the superstitions worked fully for him. And to his credit, you know, he had a pretty successful career. You know, just going through some of his stats, he was a Rockies franchise leader in games played, 2,247. He was on base 4,292 times. He scored 1,401 times. He had 710 multi-hit games, 2,519 hits, 369 home runs, 1,400 RBIs. The dude was an absolute stud. All of it, you know, really kind of peaking there in that 2009 season for the Rockies, and so many great memories for Rockies fans. And I think in a year like this, or even in a season like this for the Rockies, where there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of frustration with where the franchise is, maybe not seeing the full potential of where is this franchise going to go in the future. I think it's important for us as Rockies fans to hold on to moments like this and say, you know, not to be living in the glory days, but also to be aware of like this is how fun it is to be a Rockies fan. Like, remember how cool it was to see Todd Helton getting out there and doing what he does best, getting on base, stretching singles into doubles, you know, playing the game the way it needed to be played at that time. And to do it without any flash or any, of the extravagance that some of the players that you see playing today, although that's a lot of fun to watch sometimes. But just, getting out and taking care of business, you just love to see that. And so I applaud Todd Helton for keeping the love of baseball in Colorado, and I think the next generation, hopefully, of Rockies fans can be able to find their own version of Todd Helton in the future. I think for a while we were starting to feel like, hey, maybe Nolan Arenado, if he can pull some strings and get the Rockies to a championship, to a World Series, to a playoff berth, like maybe he's going to be that guy. Maybe even a Charlie Blackmon if his career continued to elevate in the way that Todd Helton's did. But I just think Todd Helton set the bar so high along with Larry Walker for the Rockies, and such a cool thing for him. And he did tell one more funny story that I wanted to show as well, as he was talking about retirement. And 17 years in Major League Baseball is a good amount of time. And he kind of encapsulated how he decided to retire in clip 3 for us, Alyssa. Check out what he had to say on this.
One day I was waiting on my 3-year-old daughter, Gentry, to put on her shoes. She was making these grunting noises when she bent over to put on her shoes. Worried, but not wanting to embarrass Gentry, I asked my wife what was wrong, and she smiled and whispered, "She's trying to be like you, putting on your shoes." There's a saying in baseball, you're either humbled or you're about to be humbled. At 40 years old, in the shadows of Coors Field, I watched a 102-mile-per-hour fastball from Aroldis Chapman coming at my head. After bailing out, bat up, helmet flying, I got up, and the ump asked if it hit me. I said, "Nope, but I'm going to first anyway." He replied, "I don't blame you." And I ran down to first.
What a baller. What a cool story he had to wrap up. And also, facing Aroldis Chapman and seeing 102 miles an hour straight to the dome is not the way I would want to go out either. So props to him for saying, you know what, this is it. The signs are lining up. It's time to go. And, I'm glad his family was there to see that as well. But Todd Helton will always be in our hearts and minds as he goes into baseball immortality. What a cool moment for him and his family and all of the Rockies to get to see all of that. So cool stuff. We're going to always talk about Todd Helton on this show. He is a permanent member of our DNVR diehard crew here. But talking about retirement, I want to segue into, a little more conversation around health, mental health specifically, because, as you retire, you got a lot more time on your hands and a lot of time to think. And it's important to not just say, hey, it's done, I don't need to think about anything anymore. It's important to also continue to focus on your mental health. And that's when you want to turn to UC Health. UC Health knows how important mental health is, and it encourages Coloradans to live their healthiest lives through statewide initiatives that include taking care of your mental health. They want you to live like there is a tomorrow. That's UC Health, one of our partners over here and with the Rockies. And as we look forward as well, we want to talk about Indeed. Indeed is another one of our great partners over here with the Rockies and at DNVR. Indeed is always on the search for better, as are we. But if you're a employer, you're a company looking to connect with future employees, Indeed has you covered. They have the best ways to search for new candidates. And really, it's not a search at all. Don't search. They say match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find a quality candidate fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. I know when I was actually starting out in my career, I was a program director at a local radio station in Gunnison, Colorado. Some of you might be familiar with it, you skiers and snowboarders out there. But it's hard to find employees and when you're in a small town. And so I know for me, back then, I would have loved to have had Indeed on my side. That would have been great. And but now, here today, you don't have to wait anymore. Indeed is your one-stop shop to connect you with future employees. And listeners of the show are going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right. Indeed, we are going to look at some recaps of what happened over the weekend. The Rockies took a solid series bouncing back from this All-Star break. I know the All-Star break was fun. We got to see Rymack out there playing in the All-Star game. But, you know, I think it's easy to see a lot of teams getting back into the swing of things a little slowly. You know, actually one of the teams we're going to be playing starting tonight, the Red Sox, just got swept by the Dodgers as they got out of the All-Star break. The Giants, the team we played, starting slow as well. But the Rockies wasted no time getting right back into it. And they had 2 out of 3. They took 2 out of 3 on the series and a very close loss as well yesterday on Sunday. They won the Friday game 7-3 against the Giants. Saturday was a 4-3 win over the Giants. And can I say that they just barely snuck that game in before the absolute sky exploded in Denver. Alyssa, I don't know if you were in Denver when the rain came on Saturday, but it was flooding like I've never seen at Coors Field.
Was it? I was up hiking, and I had no idea. We were just trying to beat the rain hiking.
Yeah. You could see those clouds coming in, and you're like, oh, my God.
Yeah, but I didn't know it poured in Denver.
Yeah, I was with one of my buddies who's a meteorologist, and he was looking at his radar during the game, and there was this big red dot that was just making its way to Coors Field. And it was like the 8th inning, and he's like, dude, we need to go. And I'm like, dude, it's the 8th inning, man. Like, you know, Rockies are up by 1. Like, what are we're not leaving. And he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, we got to go. And so luckily, Vodnik came in, got a quick closeout on that game, a 3-up, 3-down 9th inning. Victor Vodnik having a couple good saves as well, throwing his name out there. But got the 4-3 win over the Giants on Saturday. Sunday, yesterday, they did take a loss. I will say, Birdsong for the Giants threw an absolute gem. Dude had 12 strikeouts, 22 swings and misses. That was a record so far this season. I believe that was a season record so far of most single game swing and miss stats for Birdsong. So he had the Rockies whiffing up there. And I was actually listening to the broadcast during the game, and they were saying when Birdsong came out, they were like, oh, thank God. Like, the Rockies need to switch it up a little bit. Like, we need to get the bullpen in there for the Giants. And unfortunately for the Rockies, weren't really able to bounce back completely. But you know what? I mean, I'll take a 3-2 loss, especially with the way that the Rockies played all series long against a very good, although banged up a little bit, Giants team. They played a complete series. You know, we got to see Freeland come back out and have a good outing on Saturday. Jake Cave, I mean, he's showing up and putting some good swings out there. He was 2 for 2 on Friday with a home run, a double, 3 RBIs. Tovar on Saturday, 2 for 4 with a home run. And can we talk about the long ball for a second as well? Like, the ball was flying at Coors Field, and I mean, I know we talk about, you know, the elevation and how that plays a big factor for anyone coming up and playing at Coors Field. Shohei Ohtani did have, I believe, one of the longest home runs at Coors Field earlier this season. Soler for the Giants went out and crushed that. I think Shohei Ohtani's home run earlier this year was 471, if I'm remembering correctly. Soler went out and hit one to dead center, 478. Not only the longest home run at Coors Field this season, but also the longest home run in all of baseball so far this season. So what an absolute bomb. But, you know, go back to Tovar. Tovar smoked one up onto the concourse, hit it over that, like, left field sign that says hit it here on the concourse. I don't remember actually what sign it is. It's like some nonprofit, like if you hit the sign, they donate a certain amount of money. Dude hit it over to the sign. So yeah, the ball was flying. Trenton Bless says, yeah, the Coors Field was definitely ball heavy. Yeah, I mean, they were hitting beach balls up there on both sides. Jake Cave had a nice little line drive homer that got out on the left side. And I want to say, when I was watching Cave on Friday, I remember watching one of his swings. He fouled it off on like one of his, like I think it was his first at bat. He took a hack though, fouled it straight back. But I remember leaning over to Marissa and saying like, that was a pretty swing. Like he looked really connected there. He barely missed that. And within, just a few minutes, Cave was busting it wide open. So he was fun to watch. Jake Cave, holding it down over in right field. And yeah, just a fun weekend of baseball. And really, if you're the Rockies right now, both of those sides is kind of what you're looking at. You're looking at guys being able to kind of connect on what they're trying to grow on. Obviously, this is a year where the Rockies are expecting to be building. You're building young talent. You're trying to kind of get an identity for what your team is so that as you move forward in the next couple of years, you could start to put proper pieces into place. I know the trade deadline is July 30th, so we're going to be talking a lot about some of the moves that the Rockies might be making as we move forward through the rest of this week. But, for the Rockies, I'm looking to see whole, complete, clean games. A 3-2 loss to the Giants on a very good starting pitching outing by Birdsong is totally fine for me. Because for me, they were able to put together still a good outing, only gave up 3 runs. And their defense was playing well. Their hitters were connected, throughout that game, although still facing a challenging starter. It was a complete game for me, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. So for this weekend and what we just saw with the Rockies, I loved what I saw. I am completely happy with the outings that the Rockies gave us. And another weird little story, though, I wanted to kind of transition here. Bob Melvin, the manager for the Giants, and I tweeted this with the DNVR Rockies X account. He was ejected before the game started on Sunday. I didn't even find out about this until really like the end of the first inning when Goodman started talking about it on the broadcast and saying like, hey, Bob Melvin's not in the captaincy. Like he's not running the team today. And he was out there before the game, and then we saw some clips surfacing from NBC Bay Area. Their Twitter account was kind of posting some stuff. So I posted it on the Rockies account as well, the video, and you could see Bob Melvin in that video. He was getting a little chippy with the umpires before the game in the exchange between the lineups. So I don't really know the inside scoop on what happened. I did ask the question on X about, hey, what do you think happened in that? I mean, what's going to cause the manager to get ejected before the game? Some of the comments were saying like, well, maybe he was arguing about a call that happened the game before. Unless it was egregious, I mean, maybe, but unless it was egregious, I don't see that being as much of a thing. Usually managers, it's a long season. Usually managers move on pretty quick. I was thinking, my guess was that because there was weather, it was supposed to rain pretty much all day yesterday, at least a big chunk of yesterday. A lot of times umpires will come out to the coaches before the game and say, hey guys, there's supposed to be some weather today. Just a heads up, here's kind of our protocols. Here's how we're going to run this if we see lightning or if we see rain. And sometimes that can, piss off some coaches. They can say, hey man, like, come on, it's just rain. Like we're in Colorado. Like, what do you expect? This time of year, you get that afternoon rain. Like that's how it is. Maybe that was what got him upset, or maybe it was just he wasn't in a good mood. I don't know. Maybe he was eating some weird food too. Sometimes that can get to you. So who knows? But speaking of weird food, perfect segue into some of the weird stuff that we were seeing over at Coors Field yesterday and this whole weekend. And I want to get into that here in a second. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our friends over at Bet365. At Bet365, they do not do ordinary. Bet365, we believe every sport should be epic. Right now, new customers can choose between 2 offers when they open up an account at Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 to sign up, deposit $10, and choose between either bet and get. Choose between either a bet and get offer and place a bet of $5 or more to get a $150 bonus bet or bonus bets. Or you can place a first bet safety net offer by placing a bet of up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in bonus bets. That's a pretty solid deal if you're into the sports betting world. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code DNVR365 when you sign up. And check out our boosts as well to see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Disclaimer, you must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants to help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. That's Bet365. All right. Arguably my biggest storyline of the weekend. The Rockies rolled out their all-new Polar Pasta. And so I was able to get out there and check it out, try this new Polar Pasta. If you haven't heard of it, we're going to show you here in a second. But if you haven't seen it, it's an interesting take on pasta. You might think, okay, like maybe they're getting a little fancy with pasta. Well, ditch the carbs, get the sugar out, because it's not actually pasta. The Rockies, there you go, Alyssa. Alyssa's got the picture up on the screen. That is what it looks like. It is vanilla ice cream that's pressed through a noodler, drizzled with some strawberry jelly, jam, whatever that is, maybe just food coloring. I don't know. It's kind of sweet. And then those are chocolate donuts on top. So the idea is kind of cool. You know, I think the name throws it off a little bit, but I got out to Coors Field and I had to try it myself. And this was what it looked like, the actual thing. Now, granted, I want to remind you, it was 110 degrees, or at least it felt like it. So things got a little soggy before I was even able to take my first bite there. There's a little mint garnish on top. It was pretty simple. I can't say it was the greatest thing I ever ate. Wasn't the worst thing I ever ate. And definitely not the weirdest thing that Major League Baseball likes to throw out there. We're going to get into some of the other weird baseball foods, but that's what it looked like. So if you're heading out to Coors Field, section 119 is where you can go try that for yourself. It's actually cheaper than what I thought too, because, you know, I mean, you go out to a professional sport of any kind, like you expect to spend a little money on pretty basic food items. That wasn't breaking the bank. You got a little ice cream. I would recommend eating it pretty quickly, or if you're going to take a picture of it, definitely get the pictures before you go sit down at your seat, because you might have a bowl of, melted ice cream by the time you get back. But yeah, that was the Coors Field unveiling of their new food item. But I mean, it's not the first time we've seen crazy food items around the sports world. And I wanted to ask you guys in the Toyota chat, I mean, what is the craziest sports food? What's the craziest baseball food you've ever tried? Because to be completely honest, there are some absolutely insane foods. To go through the list, the Mets have fried chicken donuts. Alyssa, what do you think a fried chicken donut consists of? Outside of what it says. I mean, what do you think that looks like?
Oh, man. I can't even take a stab at this. Fried chicken donuts. Donut holes is what comes to mind.
Okay,
Of
yes.
little chicken bites.
Like maybe a donut hole stuffed with like chicken inside?
There we go,
That
yes.
was my thought.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. I wish I had a picture of it. I should have sent you that beforehand. It's actually fried chicken, like a chicken sandwich, and it has 2 glazed donuts as the sandwich bread.
That's a
Wild.
heart attack waiting to happen, but that sounds
absolutely
incredible.
insane. Yes. So that's one. The Cubano Gigante, that's for the Marlins. That's just a really big Cubano. I mean, that's pretty basic. The Braves, they've got the cleanup burger. This one's also insane. 4 beef patties topped with hash browns, bacon, and cheese with waffles as the bun. I'm not a fan of this whole, like, why are we using weird things to be like the buns of stuff? You know, donuts, waffles, like, I'm not a fan of that.
I feel like it's a sweet, salty thing. I've never had it, or when they put like jelly and bacon and like the PB&J burgers, or like a pretzel bun. I don't know. I'm for it. I haven't tried it, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so you seem in favor of it. That seems disgusting to me. But hey, to each his own. It's still there, by the way. So if you went to a Braves game or a Mets game, you could get both of those items. The Guardians, they have the pork and waffle, pulled pork with bean chili smothered inside a waffle cone. Again, what are we doing with that? That
one's not getting me.
Yeah,
No,
that one's... There's this guy I follow on X, and he's like, he does like chef reactions, and he's like this chef that like he's got to be from like Chicago or something, very eastern side of the country, Midwest kind of personality, and he goes and watches like just the most insane clips of people like cooking absolutely crazy things, and he just completely like destroys them. I want to have him like go through some of these, and at the end he'll always say too, like, you know, he'll rate them and he'll say, yeah, like 2 out of 10, but I'll try it. Like I would take a bite, you know? I would want to see him react to some of these because yeah, pork and waffle, you got pulled pork with smothered in bean chili with a waffle cone, just seems disgusting to me. Like,
the waffle cone is what's getting
but I'd
me.
try it, right? Like
I'd eat it, yeah.
I'd try it. I don't know if I'd eat it, but I would try it. Like
One bite.
I would consume a singular bite.
Yes.
Maybe 2 if I was confused about what just happened in my mouth. But, you know, we'll go with that. The Guardians, they've got the slider dog, hot dog, mac and cheese, onions, topped with Fruit Loops. You had me all the way until Fruit Loops. The Braves got the Burgeritza. This one actually seems okay. Burger patties with full-size pizza as the buns. Again, with the buns, though, like, you know, getting a little creative with this. I could go with the pizza or Burgeritza. That works. Maybe I'll try that when I go to Atlanta. Mariners have fried crickets. You know, I spent a lot of time living in Seattle. Never tried the fried crickets, but it is what it is. It is what it says it is. It's just fried crickets. So if you like eating bugs, go to Seattle. And then the Royals. This is a new one. This one just came out. The Royals, they just got the Taste of the K taco. It's a hot dog wrapped in cheeseburger quesadilla. That sounds great. Brisket, French fries, onions, and sriracha. Okay.
The ultimate glizzy.
That's not like terrible. I think they had some caramel corn. When I looked at the picture, it's not listed on their little, you know, rundown, but I would do that. Again, all of these items I would try. Like, you can't tell me I wouldn't at least take a bite of them, but also, like, you know, I don't know. What do we got here? The Giants at one point were selling calamari. Pac Bell, okay. Okay, so that was a while ago. You know, I mean, my mom grew up watching games at Pac Bell from the Bay Area, and I'll have to ask her if she ever tried the calamari. I will say the seafood in the Bay Area is incredible. I mean, you know, like you go out to San Francisco and you try calamari pretty much anywhere. That's good. I would not only try that, I would probably eat that. Yeah, this is all very much fairground food, by the way. So Will says, yeah, it's stuff you'd find in the fairground. Funnel. Hot Cheeto pretzel. Okay, the Rangers with the hot Cheeto pretzel. That sounds good too. That's another one of those, like, you know, I would try a bite of it and maybe even eat all of it. I don't know. We'll see. I enjoy trying different things, but yeah, it just depends on, like, am I going to consume the entire plate of this? We'll see. Some of them, though, you know, the Rockies, I don't think they weren't taking too many risks with their polar pasta. So, hey, if you want to go try the Rockies' new polar pasta, like I said, Section 119, they got the game against the Red Sox tonight at 6:40. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But, yeah, you can try it out at the game, and I don't think it's going to be as hot either, so maybe you might have more than 30 seconds then to kind of try that. But it's a good time to talk about our friends over at Premier Members Credit Union. If you're like me, you're always looking to get ahead with your money. That is for sure. That's why I recommend Premier Members Credit Union. They're a financial institution based right here in our home state of Colorado. With PMCU, you get local branches, friendly tellers, and the tools you need to save smarter, like a reverse tier money market. Whatever your goals, they can help. PMCU is all about creating a better banking experience for their community. So why not see what they can do for you? Check out becomepremier.com to learn more. Also, you know, we're talking about baseball here today, and it is the time of the year where, you know, you start bringing out the sunflower seeds. If you're like me, that's all year round. But, you know, it's a good time for sunflower seeds, and there is no better place to get sunflower seeds than from Chinook Seedery. And one of the things that I think is really cool about Chinook is, you know, if you ever get that, like, really sandpapery kind of texture on your tongue, that, like, salt burn, I talked about before the show, like my superstition was like eating gum early enough where it didn't leave that bad taste in my mouth, for the rest of the game. Same thing with seeds. It leaves that really weird texture. With Chinook Seedery, you can eat their seeds all day long without tearing up the inside of your mouth. You don't feel like you've just been eating gravel all day. It is a pleasant experience. Unique, one-of-a-kind flavors. You cannot find them anywhere else. Of course, they've got the originals, but you got lemon pepper, jalapeno ranch, Parmesan and pepper, cinnamon toast. My God, that's another one of those that, we got to try that. Dill pickle, hatch green chili. I am a hatch green chili fanatic. Put hatch green chili in anything that I consume and I will eat it. Put hatch green chili in ice cream and I'll eat it. But seeds are 100%. I'm all in on that. Smokehouse barbecue as well. Those are just some of the amazing flavors that you'll get over at Chinook Seedery. Get a sampler pack to try all 8 flavors. They are the largest seeds on the market. Head over to chinookseedery.com and use code ROCKIES for 20% off your order. Best seeds ever. And I stand by that as well. Well, we got about 20 minutes for the show here, and I want to talk about what's coming up, okay? The second half of the season just started. We are well underway, and, it feels weird, too, because, we're only like a month and a half, 2 months away from the end of the season. So, yes, the second half of the season is starting right now, but baseball season's going to be over in a hurry. And so as we continue into, especially this week, talking about the trade deadline, there's a lot of conversation around what is the identity of the Rockies? What's the next steps? Who are the Rockies going to be now? And who are they going to become in the coming years? And I kind of look at this from this whole resolution versus reality standpoint. What is our reality? Where are we right now? And what is our resolution? Where do we want to become? And what's the timeline for that? So as we progress, I think, the second half of the year is beautiful because you really start to get a feel for okay, what's going to happen this year? What is this identity of the team look like for this current season? The Rockies are 22 games back. They're in probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest division in all of baseball. The NL West is stacked. And so, you realistically, you're 15 games out of the wild card as well. Realistically, you're not really making anything happen this year. You might, in a miracle sense, get to put a run together towards the wild card if you can put some wins, and win some series and have some things fall in your way. But realistically, we're looking at, this is a year for us to continue to develop players. And I go back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the show where I said I loved what I saw from the Rockies in this past weekend. It wasn't perfect, but they played very clean, good baseball. And, we had this saying when I was playing high school ball, win the series. You don't have to win every game. You just win the series, and win the at-bat. You can kind of go from an umbrella sense all the way down and funnel it down to even just a singular at-bat. Baseball is a game of averages. So for me, taking 2 out of 3 against the Giants and doing it in the way that they did is exactly what I want to see from the Rockies moving forward. And really, starting tonight, they're going to be playing a Red Sox team that has been pretty good this season. They're coming into the year right now. There are 6.5 games out of first place in the AL East behind Baltimore and the Yankees. They're 2 games back from the Yankees. But they also just got swept by the Dodgers. So they're trying to kind of get their feet back under them to start moving forward, to start making some moves and getting ready for this trade deadline here coming up as well. And so if you're the Rockies, you want to continue to keep this momentum rolling as you enter into this series against the Red Sox. And there's an interesting storyline where Trevor Story is going to be making his appearance at Coors Field for the first time since 2021, September 29th, 2021. He played his final game at Coors Field with the Rockies, and he will be making his, I can't really say triumphant return, but triumphant return in the same way. getting back to playing at Coors Field. So I'll be at the game talking to him, hoping to ask him some questions about just, like his experience and some of the memories that he has at Coors, and also, what it feels like to just be back playing at Coors. But it brings up this idea. We've seen this before, when we had Nolan Arenado get traded out, away from the Rockies. Like, what is it like for these players to come back and play in a place they spent the majority of their career in? We talk about Trevor Story, we talk about Nolan Arenado being guys that we had thought maybe were going to kind of spend their entire career, or at least the majority of their career here in Colorado. And circumstances lined up the way that they are. Obviously, we could go into dozens of shows on all of the reasons those guys got traded away. But no matter what, the reality is what it is. Trevor Story is coming back to play at Coors Field in a uniform other than the Rockies. And so, it's going to be a mix of emotions, I'm sure. Probably pretty nostalgic, but also a little bittersweet. It's just interesting to see how the fans are going to embrace him. Are we going to hear cheers, boos? A little mix of both. There's the fans that are so diehard, Rockies or bust, that it doesn't matter what you did for the Rockies. The minute you leave, even if you're a year away from retirement, it's like, hey, screw off. I'm not gonna cheer for you until you're long gone. But then there's also, some fans that are like, hey, I got to see some cool moments with you, Trevor Story, and so it'll be interesting to see, how he is embraced by the Rocky faithful. And I want to hear your thoughts as well. Drop some comments in the Toyota chat about, what your thoughts are on seeing Trevor Story come back and play with the Red Sox, or at least just be in a Red Sox uniform, at Coors Field. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But, the Red Sox did just get swept by the Dodgers, and, that's a tough way to jump back out of the All-Star break. And so they're going to be kind of itching to get back into it. The Red Sox, I did see Burge 7191. He was saying the Red Sox are probably the biggest surprise in baseball this year. I would agree. I would totally agree. And also, they're playing in a division where Baltimore, not really a surprise at all, but Baltimore is solid. 6.5 games up. The Yankees, who are kind of a surprise to me as well. I know they've got big talent, but the Yankees have just been so hit or miss these past few years. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as the year progresses. And I love this time of year for baseball because you start to see teams start to either pull away or draw closer. And anytime you can have a situation where the Red Sox and the Yankees, and now Baltimore, who is so fun to watch, are kind of in that little mix in the race to the playoffs, the race for October. It is some of the best baseball you will watch. I liken it to the Giants and the Dodgers, when they were kind of in that period of time where the Giants were making it, where the Giants were winning a World Series pretty much every other year. We were seeing the Giants and the Dodgers duking it out in the National League to get to that division spot. And the Rockies in October just a few years ago, kind of fighting for that last wild card game spot. I look at the Mariners and the Astros. The Mariners just dropped 2 huge games to the Astros. And the Mariners are a little interesting to me right now because they're another one of those teams. They kind of remind me of Baltimore. They've got some young players that are up and coming. They are a blast to watch, but also they are so inconsistent sometimes. You drop a couple to the Astros, who are a formidable opponent, but a team that just pisses everyone off. And you do it in Seattle. The Mariners have got some, and also they dropped out of first place. Just wanted to add that in there as well. So you started the All-Star break in first place. 2 games in, you're now not in first place. So this is the time of year where you start to see things going up and down, teams starting to jockey for that first spot. And then the teams that, start to fall back, Red Sox being one of them, right now sitting at about 6.5 games back, you start looking at that wild card spot and saying, what is the opportunity for me here in the wild card? And how does that play out? I want to look at some of the standings right now, since this is our first show back after the All-Star break, to look at where things line up right now. The American League for the American League East, I mentioned it. The Orioles sitting right now at 60-39. They are 2 games up over the Yankees. The Red Sox 6.5 games back. Then it's the Rays and the Blue Jays about 10 and 15 games back. American League Central, Guardians 5 games up over the Twins. The Central is a weird division too, because the Guardians are playing very well. They're a very good team, but the Twins, the Royals, and the Tigers are all kind of like jumbled in that middle spot, fighting for second there. And I would say the Twins and the Royals, they both could put a good run on the Guardians as the season progresses. So keep an eye on that in the Central. American League West, the Astros and the Mariners. I just mentioned that. The Astros now technically sitting at first place, although tied for first with the Mariners, since they did just beat the Mariners. But so it's Astros and Mariners tied for first place. The Rangers, 5 games back, the reigning World Series champions, and then the Angels and the Oakland A's are at the bottom of the barrel, which, you would kind of expect that for the A's and the Angels. I will say, though, the Oakland A's, the Oakland Athletics, soon to be Vegas A's, they just beat up on the Phillies just before the All-Star break. I mean, I don't know if you guys were paying attention to some of those games, but they put up 18 runs against the Phillies in their final game, and that is a very good Phillies team. Might have just been a, hey, let's just crawl our way into the All-Star break for the Phillies, but that is what happened going into All-Star break. So the A's putting a nice little showing there to end their first half of the season. National League, the Phillies, the Braves. Phillies taking control of the NL East, 8.5 games up over the Braves, 12.5 games up over the Mets. Nationals and Marlins, nowhere near close. The Marlins, arguably one of the worst teams we've ever seen in baseball. So tough to be a Marlins fan right now. But when is it not tough to be a Marlins fan, to be completely fair? We're sorry for all of our Miami viewers. The Brewers, 5 games up in first place in the NL Central. The Cardinals having, some iffy moments this year. They're only 5 games back. If they could put some pieces in place, I could see them making a run towards the playoffs, but they've got to figure some stuff out. Pirates, 7 games back. They are going to put a run on the Cardinals' money. Paul Skeens, I mean, the dude has jumped out into the Pirates world and absolutely changed the trajectory of their season. He has increased their winning percentage over 40% since he was just added to the roster. Not only getting a starting spot, the dude is going on a tear, and so that also goes to a mental side of things. You look at, especially with starting pitchers, not only is he playing really well, but it seems like the team is really kind of stepping up around him. So the Pirates are a force to be reckoned with. The Cubs, 10 games back. I know our CHGO crew over in Chicago, they are really just hanging on for dear life, 10 games back, trying to keep up with the Pirates and the Cardinals. The Reds, only 10.5 games back. That could be a fight there for the wild card as well. And then, of course, over at our NL West here in Colorado, the Dodgers, a pretty commanding first place in the NL West spot. Not really surprised by that. They're 8 games up over the Diamondbacks. Dodgers, with the payroll that they have, even with the injuries that they have, they should be dominating. I mean, you go and spend over $1 billion on your payroll, you should be the best team in the world. So I agree, by the way. The White Sox are challenging the 62 Mets and 03 Tigers for the worst baseball team in all time. That's tough for our friends over at CHGO as well, because I know how it is to cover a team that is struggling, and the White Sox are as bad as it gets. So, our hearts go out to White Sox fans all over the world. We hope that you at least avoid that label as the worst team in all of baseball. Diamondbacks, again, making it deep into the playoffs in World Series last year. They are 8 games back in this very challenging division. The Padres tied at that second spot at 8 games back. The Giants, 11 games back. I know it feels like the Dodgers are so out on an island, and they are. to be completely fair. Rockies 23 games back, by the way. But, really it is just a battle for that wild card spot when you look at the National League, because the Diamondbacks, Padres, and Giants and Rockies are not going to catch up to the Dodgers. So at this point, it's just a matter of how can we, get to a wild card spot is what we're looking at. And unfortunately for us Rockies fans, that isn't going to change. We can sign and trade for whoever we want. We can bring all these new young prospects up through our rankings, and all of that's great. But in reality, we're shooting for wild cards, at least for a few years. The Dodgers just have unlimited power. I mean, they're like Emperor Palpatine in, Revenge of the Sith. The dude's just shooting lightning out of his hands. No one can stop him. That is the Dodgers. And it sucks because we happen to share the same division with them, but that's the world we live in. Yes.
Of all the teams.
Of all the teams. Of all the places that we are, we've got to be stuck with the freaking Los Angeles Dodgers. F the Dodgers, as I grew up saying, with family from the Bay Area and Giants fans. But yeah, so we're going for wild cards moving forward, and that is what the National League outlook looks like right now. One little quick tidbit though before we wrap things up here. Want to reel things back into the Rockies. The Rockies do have some injuries as well. Kris Bryant, a very sensitive subject for us Rockies fans here on the show as well. He is the unfortunate Russell Wilson of the Rockies. And it's hard bringing up Kris Bryant because I know that there's a lot of feelings. If we had a feelings pillow around the studio, I would be holding it right now. We're going to talk about our feelings with Kris Bryant eventually. But right now, we're going to stay positive, okay? The Rockies are doing well. We're going to keep things positive here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. Kris Bryant had a 5-for-5 outing in his game, in his rehab assignment in New Mexico. He had a home run in that 5-for-5. We love to see that. So Kris Bryant doing well. He is rehabbing and recovering right now. And that's something we're going to keep an eye on as things go on. And a couple other injuries as well. Want to get this pulled up to make sure I get this correct. I actually think I have this on my phone. But as we look ahead to the games today, updates on some players. Diaz, he is day-to-day right now. He has a right calf strain. I want to remind you guys that Diaz did miss 16 games in June with a left calf strain. So prayers up for Diaz's calves because he's struggling with his calves this season. And hopefully he doesn't have to miss any more time. Right calf strain. He was replaced by Stallings. Stallings came in and replaced him. I believe it was his second at-bat. I think Stallings jumped in that Saturday game. But yeah, so Stallings has been playing, again, day-to-day for Diaz. And then Tovar went home yesterday with flu-like symptoms. So that's another thing we want to keep an eye on. Tovar having himself a heck of a start coming out of the All-Star break. Dude went into the All-Star break crushing home runs and came out of it crushing home runs. So hopefully he gets his flu-like symptoms under control and can come back out. I will be at the Rockies game tonight tweeting from the game. So if there is any updates on either of those players, I will keep you posted and be posting that. So be sure to follow us on X. God, I'm getting all of that confused.
Just call it Twitter.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
We're not doing
Can we get that out of the way? Are we good with that? Okay.
Twitter,
I want to make sure I'm on the same page. So follow us on Twitter at DNVR Rockies. On Twitter, DNVR Rockies, and you'll get some updates from that. And that's going to be it for us here at the Toyota Lounge. I had a blast. This is my first show, and the Rockies showed up, put some lovely topics on a silver platter for me, or maybe a polar plate, as we were working with earlier. But yeah, so keep an eye out on Twitter and all of our socials at DNVR_Rockies. My Twitter handle at CJJ Saez. Saez spelled S-A-E-Z. I always say, if you watch baseball, you saw Javier Baez spelled the exact same way, just with an S. So at CJJ Saez on Twitter. Alyssa, plug yourself. You got any socials you want to share?
Just at Amarie21.
At Amarie21. And of course, follow, DNVR Sports as well. We are a big family here, and we love when we get to connect with you guys. So that's going to do it for us in the studio. From Christian Saez, Alyssa, and our entire crew, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on Wednesday with our next show, and we'll see you hopefully at the game. Have a good one, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.